Welcome back to Teaching the Unteachables, where we dive into methods for teaching and learning for professionals like you. To learn more about programmatic accreditation and the benefits of it, visit escogroup.org and select accreditation. All right, thank you all for joining us. We're hanging out with Dennis Soukup, the accreditation team specialist here at HVAC Excellence, and we're taking the time to talk about that process of the application and review of a program to become accredited. So there's 5 primary steps, wouldn't you say, Dennis?
Yes, there are, Clifton. When you look at the process, the application, there's 5 areas of things that you need to be concerned about in order to be ready, submit, and start to schedule your site visit.
Okay, so within the accreditation manual, so we have a couple of pages that kind of starts out that process. So in the manual that I'm looking at, it's page 6 and 7. And what we discuss is, the introduction to it is the following instructions will provide an approximate time frame for each step of the accreditation process. Depending upon the response time, the process may be completed in as little as 90 days or can take as long as 6 months. So in general, is that a pretty decent reference?
Well, yes, it is, Clifton. And, in some cases, and I get a call and talk to a lot of people about they're ready or they think they're ready, and they're a little bit overwhelmed when they see the actual process or they start looking into those pages that you're talking about.
Right.
And then there sets into a fear factor because sometimes it's an industry professional like myself who worked in the industry 40 plus years, and then found myself in the system of higher education. And then here you are receiving these instructions or the idea that you want to take your program through accreditation, and for a one-person program officer or instructor, if you will, it starts to look a little overwhelming.
Daunting, yeah.
Yes, until you figure out how to break it down into, as we say, how do you eat that elephant in the room? One bite at a time.
Exactly. Well, I mean, if we think about the whole intent of accreditation, let's think about the purposes of moving your program from, a successful existing program into an accredited program. What are the benefits of doing this?
Well, some of the things, and we all realize that we have great programs, but some of the benefits are one, let's think about the students. They get to graduate from an accredited program, so this becomes something that's very powerful in their resume.
Value to it.
When they're seeking employment. I am an employer here in Nevada, and when you're looking for employees and you see they've graduated from accredited program, you have an expectation of what their knowledge and background is. For the schools, one of the benefits just for the schools alone is many times there are particular grants or federal funding and things that come along the way of the grants office for financial funding to gain more equipment. And one of the first questions those organizations ask is, are you an accredited program? Do you have that seal of approval, if you will, from that disinterested third party? And that's what HVAC Excellence becomes. We're a third party that takes a deep dive into that program to see if it meets those standards.
So we're evaluating a program to make sure that has, uniform consistency across the country.
It's funny you say that, because in one of the talks that I give when I speak to the students during an accreditation visit, and I always ask, do you know why I'm here? Right. And of course they usually do not. And when I talk about the accreditation and what's it mean, and I always give them the McDonald's example, if you will, that we want that cheeseburger in San Francisco to be the same cheeseburger in Miami, Florida.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Meaning that student, we have an expectation that the quality of education coming from that student is the same across the country. It meets the standard to get into the workforce, what the employers are looking for. I'd have no fear if a student came to me from Ivy Tech in Indiana with a diploma, and I realize they are an accredited program, and I have an expectation of their knowledge and their background.
Okay. I mean, I would think that that would be the goal for every program is to, to meet that bar, to have that consistency, to be recognized as a industry standard. So, in doing that, let's talk about these 5 primary steps. So, I've decided that, or my department has decided that we would like to seek accreditation. So, step 1 is an application and a program video.
Yes, the application is not very difficult. It's maybe 1, 2 pages of some simple questions and simple things to be filled out. And in the last, I want to say year or two, we've added the process of the program video. Now, that's not to take anything into fear. We're not looking for a television broadcast, major production. It's simply walking with your iPhone, if you will,
Right.
and covering those items that are listed there on page 6, letting us take a look at your laboratory, just do a walkthrough and show some of your equipment, your trainers, show some of your safety, your fire extinguishers, shunt switches, perhaps even the ventilation system that's removing the air from that lab, and then even some of your tool room and recording instruments, vacuum pumps, and so forth, where you store your refrigerant and your combustible gases. That's basically, again, it's still a walk around with a simple narrative. Then into the classroom and office, letting us see the space where instructors meet and have a space to meet with students, and maybe even a look into your library or something to that effect. And we ask that only because before we make the commitment and to spend all of the dollars to fly out to a program, we just want to validate that the program is actually ready and does contain the elements of a program that can be accredited.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to, look out there, even if it's my own program and I'm wanting to create this video and fill out the application. That's kind of a checklist of myself to walk through and go, okay, do I have fire extinguishers in the right places? Do I have, I don't even have eyewash stations. Maybe I should stop and regroup on this as a high priority before we even proceed. Or emergency cutoff switches. There are things that we can look at and go, okay, wow, maybe I'm not as prepared as I thought I was.
It is. It's a good clue of if we're asking for it in the video, obviously it should be something that tells you we're going to look at it in person
This
when the
is what
team
we're
arrives.
expecting.
And I get a lot of comments when I flip the tag on a fire extinguisher. First thing faculty will usually say, well, that's the responsibility of facilities. And I usually answer by, yes, I know, but you're going to be the one wearing the black eye if I see that it's expired. It's up to you to maintain those and keep your lab in a safe environment.
All right, so we got a nice, preview of what we should be expecting of ourselves. We filled out an application and we've submitted a video of our program, our facility. So step 1's checked off. Now we move on to step 2, which is the team member assignment.
Yes, so usually after the video is reviewed, and that's usually by one of the team members that handle standards 5 through 9. That's the technical side of the program, because we're the ones looking at the lab and the equipment to see that things meet standards. So once that's happened, we've placed them into the candidacy level, and then team members are assigned. We'll decide which one of our 10-member staff or which 2 of the 10-member staff is going to go ahead and start communicating with the college and arrange what date we'll actually come out for the site visit.
Okay, so we have went through our mental checklist, put our video together on step 1. Step 2, the accreditation team has looked through the applications and the video, decided that we're ready to assign some people to this assignment. Step 3, now we're going to start diving a little bit deeper and do a self-study.
Correct. So the self-study, that's the one that became or becomes most daunting for faculty members when they take a look at it, because now they're looking at all of the requirements for standards 1 through 9. Standards 1 and 4 being through the administrative side, and 5 and 9 the technical. And when you're that smaller program, or you're only 1 or 2 faculty members, or like I was back in the day, just the only one in the program, it becomes terrorizing to look at that self-study and saying, wow, I really want to reach this accreditation level for my program and for the college, but this is a little bit well beyond, my ability as a technician. So my best advice is take the self-study and look at it. Look calmly at each of the standards, and then break it down. Break it down as to there's someone within your organization that is an expert in each one of those standards. When it gets to budget and finance, go talk to your budget and finance officer. Show them what the requirements are, and they can help you gather that information and send it to you. Usually every organization has, or college has, an Office of Institutional Research.
Right.
And in that office, you can get the statistics that we're asking for with the number of students that are in your program or the number of graduates that are in your program. Each technical program generally has somebody who takes care of the tool room. Sometimes it's a student worker, or sometimes it's a state classified worker. You give that tool list. Here's the recommended tool list. Do we have it? Do you have an inventory of all those tools? Are they arranged neatly, and are they accessible to students? So just break it down and look within your own organization who's the expert in each one of these standards and cut it up. And at the end of the day, you'll reassemble it and you'll suddenly find out, wow, my self-study is ready to go.
And so there's quite a bit of things that we need to gather there. So it's not something you're going to have put together in a day or two, or maybe not even a week or two. So how much time are we allotted for that process?
Well, again, I think the process is based on how fast you want to do it. We will not begin to review or get ready for that site visit until we've had at least 45 days worth of the self-study, because the team has to look at it. But you can take the time you need. Now, it also depends on, is this your first accreditation, or are you doing a reaccreditation, and are you under a time crunch because you're looking at an expiration date? But it wouldn't surprise me at all that to put together an effective self-study for all of its components and allowing the independent offices within your organization to gather that information to take at least 90 days to get that accomplished.
Okay, pretty realistic. A lot of things to go over there. Okay, so we've completed step 3. We've done the entire self-study. We've checked through our list of items that we feel are acceptable. Now we're ready to go to step 4, scheduling an on-site visit from the accreditation team.
Okay, so back in the back of the house, the team members will communicate with each other. I'll communicate with my partner. We'll be looking at the calendar and see possible dates that work for us to do a travel. And at the same time, that team leader, he is then working with the academic vice presidents, the deans, if you will, or the co-chairs of the program, and working those same dates that work for them. What does work in their schedule so that they're available and all of the components are available for us to look at when we arrive, because we will break up into a few sessions, and I think this is probably the time to talk about that. We'll work with the standards 1 through 4 on the administrative side. I'll work with standards 5 through 9, and then we have groups that we want to talk to throughout the process, all the way from their website, their administrative, their budget, finance people, student services, and then as well on a technical side, I'm meeting with other groups there with students, advisory boards, and so forth. So once we've agreed on that date, then we will travel with a schedule in hand that begins at 8:30 in the morning, and we define each 30-minute segment, if you will, of what we're expecting to do, what we're expecting to cover, all the way to mid-afternoon when we have our determination, or we'll have our exiting strategy meeting with the staff.
Okay, so we're not just looking at the functionality of the program from the technical perspective. We're looking at the entire program. It's, feasibility from funding, it's, media outreach. We're looking at the program to just validate that it is a program that will continue developing as time goes along, setting a standard for development.
Oh, we do. I mean, my partner who's looking at 1 through 4, he looks at a lot of aspects, the ease of accessing the school's website, how many pushes does it take to get to the air conditioning program, how much information is out there. He looks for a lot of accuracy in all of that. And then he looks at how much money is put into the program. Do they have adequate funds to sustain the program? I mean, equipment is expensive. It's HVAC and running a lab is not a cheap date.
No,
and
not at all.
It takes a lot of equipment and a lot of expendables to keep that running. So they do look at all of that to see if the program can sustain that and has the adequate funds and needs, and even just student services, scholarships, and things that make things easy in the student's life in order to stay in the program, graduate, and be successful.
Awesome. So a lot of things that we probably are not looking at as many of us were technicians out in the field coming into a program, trying to make a program successful, and may not have had the roadmap. So it is a complete roadmap to a successful program.
That is correct. Once all that's done, Clifton, and I guess that'll take us to the final determination.
Yeah, step 5.
Yes, step 5. So once we have, and we'll start our day a little bit like we'll take a complete quick tour of the lab. And this way, the administrative or the front of the house accreditation specialist gets to do a quick tour of the lab just to get a snapshot of what the program looks like.
Right.
That's just a walking tour, just something before he begins to sit down with administrative. And then we separate and I go into the deep dive. When we do come back together, and that's usually sometime after lunch, and then we will discuss. We'll discuss, are there any recommendations? Or are there any suggestions? Recommendations are a little bit more of a hard line. Some of those are time compliance recommendations saying this needs to be done before we can accredit. We find this as a big problem. Suggestions are just that, suggestions. Suggestions we make to help improve programs, maybe things we've seen a little better in one part of the country than in another part, so we'll make suggestions. And at the end, we will determine that. We'll talk together over the program and decide, is this program viable for a 6-year accreditation or not? However, that's not the end of the decision. A lot of people think that is. We make our decision. We write that up into a lengthy report. We send that back to ESCO Group. And again, it meets with another board that takes a look at everything that we've found, everything that we've written, suggested, or noted. And then a final determination is actually made that the school has received either a first-time 6-year accreditation or a reaccreditation.
Fantastic. All right, so very thorough process that is vetted by now a third-party organization being brought back for a secondary review.
Yes.
Quite the extensive evaluation.
And there's a little bit more to that, which is one of the reasons when I took the college that I worked at through HVAC Excellence, and I did it mainly because of exactly the words, HVAC Excellence.
Right.
HVAC Excellence is dedicated to the HVAC program, and there's the ongoing components that at the end of that exiting meeting, I will discuss with the faculty and say, this is not just a chance to sit back for 6 years. Some other accreditation companies may do that, but not HVAC Excellence, and that's one of the deciding factors for me. There is the component where the faculty member must continue a growth plan. They must continue CEUs throughout the year that comes in an annual report. A lot of places don't even do that.
Right.
But with HVAC Excellence, we're taking a look at it every year. We want to know, did you hire new people? Are they qualified? Did you buy new equipment? And if so, what did you do? We just want to continue to see that program is continuing to grow and is continuing to maintain that accreditation. So an annual report is due every year, and then we ask the faculty to take tests and to upgrade their own status. Full-time faculty, we have what's known as the CMHE. We ask them to pass over a course of time 7 of those courses and contain that master's educator's credentialing. And even the part-time faculty, at least to take the CSME, which is a subject matter educator, and at least the field that they are teaching. So if you're teaching gas-fired furnaces, we want them to take the gas-fired test.
Certified, absolutely.
We hold them at a little bit of a higher bar. The rigor of that test is different than the employment readiness. They need to know that. It's different than the one they give the students. So it has a little more rigor to it, and then it has a higher bar for a pass-fail rate. And then we ask that they continue to work through that throughout that 6-year accreditation so that by the time the next level comes around, they have attained enough CSMEs to become a master and continue their growth plan.
Fantastic stuff. So there is a thorough 5-step program to get us into the accreditation process and evaluation and determination. Dennis Soukup, educator, brought into HVAC Excellence for his program, now an accrediting officer within the Institute. So it shows how far the program can take your own development. Fantastic. Anything you want to add onto that before we get out of here, Dennis?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's a fantastic coverage of our 5 steps. We thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again later. Have a great day.
Thank you.